polygons. Today we're going to talk about what makes a shape a polygon and all the different kinds of polygons. I only want you to be able to identify the pentagons, hexagons, octagons, and decagons, but we will discuss other polygons throughout the lesson. Alright, so first you need to go to your vocabulary. There are a lot of vocabulary terms, so if you need to, take a minute to pause, finish writing down a definition, and draw your example. Drawing your examples will be especially important for this lesson, as there are a lot of different polygons that we're going to draw, and you have to know the difference between each of them. Alright, first we have a polygon. A polygon is a closed plane figure formed by three or more line segments that do not intersect. It's important that you understand that they are line segments, that it's closed, and that there has to be three or more of the line segments. Okay, so what this means is basically any of your shapes. So a line segment looks something like this. It has an endpoint on both sides, and you need three of them. So 1, 2, 3. A triangle is a type of polygon. It's the smallest polygon that you can have. Each of the sides connects with the other. That's the only spot that they intersect, and it's closed. If I moved this just a little and left it like that, it would not be a polygon because it is not closed. Any shape that has a curved surface is also not a polygon. Line segments all have to be straight. Remember, if they curve, they are no longer line segments, they're what we call arcs. A regular polygon. A regular polygon is a polygon with all congruent sides and angles. If you have all congruent sides, that means you have to have all congruent angles. So if they don't show you all of the symbols for congruent sides and angles, it's okay. You can know that if you see that there's all congruent angles, that all of your sides have to be congruent, or vice versa. Okay, so for your example, I drew a hexagon, and these lines right here tell me that each of these sides are congruent, and this little curve on the inside here tells me that each of these angles, wherever you see this curve, are congruent. Again, pause if you need to. If a regular polygon has all congruent sides and angles, then an irregular polygon, it would make sense, is a polygon with not all congruent sides and angles. Even if only one side or one angle is off, it's an irregular polygon. Okay, so in this case, our hexagon does not have congruent sides and does not have congruent angles. There may be some congruent sides and angles in here, but because all of them are not congruent, none of them can be cannot be regular. A pentagon. Some of these will be familiar to you, but we're going to go over them anyways. A pentagon is a polygon with 5 sides. Here's your example right over here. A hexagon is a polygon with 6 sides. A heptagon is a polygon with 7 sides. A lot of students get heptagon and hexagon confused. One of the ways that helps me remember the difference is a hexagon and 6 both have X's in them. So a hexagon has 6 sides. Okay, and you'll notice here my heptagon does not look like a regular polygon. It's okay, as long as it has 7 sides, it is a heptagon. This is just the more classical way that you'll see these shapes. An octagon. An octagon is a polygon with 8 sides. You'll typically see these when you see stop signs on the street. Again, for octagon, if you think of an octopus has 8 legs, an octagon has 8 sides. A nonagon. A nonagon is a polygon with 9 sides. And then we have a decagon, which is a polygon with 10 sides. Just like a decade has 10 years, a decagon has 10 sides. Please make sure that you have all of your examples drawn. If you need to, pause, go back in the video, and make sure you have your examples in there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and fill out our chart. Okay, if you look at a triangle, you know that a triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. A regular triangle will look like this. The only triangle that's a regular triangle is what we call an equilateral triangle, which you'll remember from the lesson before is a triangle with all equal sides. A not regular triangle would be an isosceles triangle or even a scalene triangle. Quadrilaterals have 4 sides and 4 angles. The only regular quadrilateral is a square. Squares have all congruent sides and 90 degrees in each angle. Any of these shapes, a trapezoid, a rhombus, a parallelogram, a rectangle, are all quadrilaterals, but they are irregular polygons. A pentagon, 5 sides, 5 angles. So you'll notice the pattern now is that however many sides you have is how many angles you have in a polygon. Regular pentagon, not regular pentagon. Okay. To help us know that our polygons are congruent, we're going to use those symbols that I told you about before, the lines that go through the sides that tell us that each of these sides are congruent. If you don't see these, that should tell you that your shapes are not congruent, your sides are not congruent. Okay, hexagon, 6 sides, 6 angles. Again, we're going to draw in our congruency lines. And an irregular hexagon. The nice thing about these congruency lines is I know it's really hard when we're drawing our own shapes to make the sides all congruent. So you do your best, and then if you put these lines on there, that tells me that no matter what, these sides are all congruent. Okay, so when you're taking your test or a quiz or even on your practice work, when you're trying to draw your shapes, still do your best to make all the sides equal, but make sure to put these symbols on here because if you don't, that tells me that they are not congruent. Last but not least, we have the octagon, which has 8 sides and 8 angles. And we will use our congruency lines. And an irregular octagon. Pause at any time that you need to make sure you get everything drawn into your notes. Alright, so we're going to decide, is this a polygon? Does it have at least 3 line segments? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it does. Is it closed? Yes, it is. Okay. Does it curve? No, it doesn't. So is this a polygon? Yes, it is a polygon. How many sides and angles does it have? Okay, so the easiest way to do this is just to count the sides. So first we say, here's side 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It has 5 sides and 5 angles. Are each of the sides congruent? Do you see congruency lines on here at all? Because we don't, we would say no. So we're going to take all 3 of these things and we are going to make a conclusion. So we know that it's a polygon. So since it's a polygon with 5 sides, we know that it is a pentagon. Because it's not congruent on all sides and all angles, we know that it is irregular. So the conclusion that we can make is that this is an irregular pentagon. Okay, I want you to look at your next problem. You do not have these congruency marks in your notes. I want you to please put them on there now. And then I want you to answer these 3 questions, make your conclusion, and then come back and you can check your answer. Alright, is this a polygon? Yes. At least 3 line segments, it's closed, no curves. How many sides and angles? 6. And we can write down that that tells us that this is a hexagon. Are all the sides congruent? Yes. So we're going to take these 3 things and we can conclude that it is a regular hexagon. Alright, so we're going to take a little bit of what we learned in lesson 8.4 to help us learn a little bit more about polygons. Okay, so how many degrees are in a triangle? We learned that there are 180 degrees in a triangle. This is going to help us find the amount of degrees in all other polygons. Alright, so when you draw triangles in this figure, you can only start at one corner and go to another corner. So in this case, I'm going to start at this corner. I can't go from here to here because that's already a side. I can't go from here to here because it's already a side. But I can go from here to here. Now what a lot of students like to do is draw from here to here, but you can only start at one corner, and I chose this corner. So I have one triangle here and a second one here. Okay, so since I could draw 2 triangles, and I'll even draw it again just in case, we're going to take what we know about the 180 degrees in a triangle and help us find the amount of degrees in this quadrilateral. It has 2 triangles, and if there's 180 degrees in this triangle and 180 degrees in this triangle, then I know that I can do 2 times 180 and get the number of degrees in my triangle, or in my shape, in my polygon. Okay, so the sum of the quadrilateral is 360 degrees. So all quadrilaterals will have 360 degrees inside of them. So what I want you to do, I want you to finish these 2 problems. You need to find the missing angles. You need to find x on this one and x on this one. Make sure that you post your answers on Edmodo tonight, and when you come back tomorrow, we'll go over any questions you might have, and we will also do a little bit of group work, as there's a little bit more to this lesson that I want to teach you. Please make sure if you have any other questions that you also type them onto Edmodo, and remember, I'm the only one that sees them.